Hello and welcome to Mr. Lamb Science Corner. Today the element is aluminum, or as I like to say in England, aluminium. And they back it up by spelling it a little bit differently. So we can sneer at them, they can sneer at us. Uh, I'm not about to say which one is correct, but I will say that an American did co-discover a rather easy way of, well, not easy, but cheap way of making pure aluminum. Aluminum has a number of 13, lucky number 13, and an atomic weight of, well, I wrote it out as 26.981. Most times it's just called 27. Sometimes even 27.0. Your choice. Okay, so anyway, we have that. Aluminum has an interesting history, and let's talk about some of the other stuff that is important about aluminum, and then we'll talk about the history. It's the third most common element in the crust. It's found in granite, clay, lapis lazuli, ceramics, bricks, slate, emery, topaz, ruby, sapphire, turquoise, among other things. It's never found pure in nature. If you see a pure piece of aluminum, number one, it's not quite completely pure because it always has a layer of iron oxide very tightly bound to the surface. And if anywhere there's oxygen, which hopefully is where you are, you're going to find this aluminum oxide. And it holds very tightly to the surface. So we think of aluminum as not being very reactive, but in actual fact, pure aluminum is, without the aluminum oxide, is very reactive. But since this surface layer, surrounds it, what we see first is we see it in the environment as aluminum oxide reacting with the environment, not aluminum. So we think of it as a very unreactive element, but in actual fact, it's quite reactive. But like I said, never found in nature by itself. And to get it, since it's so very reactive, it's very hard to produce as a pure piece of aluminum. The very first item ever made out of aluminum was you might call it a tin cup, but obviously it's made of aluminum. So an aluminum cup made for the future Napoleon III. When he was born, he had a little baby sipping cup, and it was made out of aluminum, and it was the very first thing ever made out of aluminum. And the story goes that aluminum was so expensive that because of this tie-in that Napoleon III had with aluminum, he liked to show off, and so when he had state dinners when he became Napoleon III, the very special guest and the royal family got to eat off of aluminum plates. All the rest of the people invited to the party had to eat on solid gold plates. Poor people. But they knew their position. If you got aluminum, you were whoa. And if you got gold, you were still pretty good. The peasants weren't eating off of gold for sure, but you knew you were second class at that dinner. And then Charles Hall in America, and a man named, I'm going to mispronounce this, I have his last name, Heroult, H-E with a accent, R-O-U-L-T, and so I know, any French people out there watching, I'm sorry, I butchered this, I know, but the two of them independently of each other, discovered a rather complex way of producing pure aluminum. And it brought the price of aluminum from well above the price of gold. That's why the people had to use gold plates because they were second class at the dinner, because aluminum was more expensive than gold. Think of this: the stuff you go camping with at one time was eaten off of by royalty because it was better than gold. Gives you a little something to think about when you go out there camping. Anyway, so you went from the price higher than that of gold to eventually down to 20 cents a pound. That's been about the lowest. It's now above that. I think I saw the last time it's about $1 a pound. Woohoo! And the very tippy top of the Washington Monument is tipped in aluminum, because I always thought it was because of Charles Hall finding this way of making cheap aluminum. We're doing a lot of bragging by capping it with aluminum, but it turned out that they capped it with aluminum about 2 years before Charles Hall came up with his system. So I don't know why they picked aluminum, but they picked aluminum. They did. So there, I saw a picture or a drawing of it, and the top cap is about this tall. So the very tippy top of the pyramidal point for the Washington Monument is pure aluminum. Okay, so like I said, lots of semi-precious and precious stones, ruby, sapphire, and I believe emerald too, but I don't have that listed for some reason. So in sapphire can be more expensive than diamond. There are aluminum compounds that are worth having. Okay, thank you very much.